Sorry about that, guys. We had some technical difficulties, but we are back. I'm going to try to redirect some of the people that were in the former chat to come join us here, which could be a little difficult. So I'm going to need Mr. Smith to BS for a little bit while I do that.
All right, guys. I will get you filled in while Adam does his magic and wizardry in the back. For those of you that are wondering what happened, just a little backstory. Kyle was having some internet difficulties, and then we eventually got booted out of the chat. I think he was the main host. But to catch you up really, really fast, I'm going to speed through these very quickly. 244, Don't Murray, Be Happy. This is part 2. This is because the Vikings signed for the Raiders running back Latavius Murray. This means officially that the end of the Adrian Peterson era is official. This was on the team's Twitter account and on their actual website. Latavius said he will not take number 28, which was very respectful and classy of him. He's going to wear 25. Other players that have changed their numbers since Matt Khalil is gone, Alex Boone is taking 75. And since Captain Munnerlyn's departure, Jabari Price will wear number 24. The last thing that we were talking about before we got booted was former Vikings linebacker and currently a free agent, Gerald Hodges, said he was open to returning to the team. And I thought that was pretty funny. It speaks volumes to Mike Zimmer and his defensive scheme. And there's another quick hit, and we talked about it last week. I don't really like it, but we'll get into it. And it's kind of a good segue for a free agent linebacker to know how tough that Mike Zimmer and his team has to be. You have to be mentally and physically at the top of your game. Mike Zimmer has put in a fantastic establishment as a head coach, even though the record is a little bit swayed from what we had wanted to be. Last week, to segue into the next quick hit, while Adam, if you're still working, I don't have it up.
Yeah, I'm still struggling a bit.
Okay. Well, last week, Mike Zimmer attempted to contact, or this week rather, Mike Zimmer attempted to contact Rhett Ellison's father. If you missed it last week, Rhett Ellison signed with the Giants. We were really happy for him. He was a grinder of the team. He did a lot of dirty work and didn't get a lot of praise, as you would say, because he was, a second or third string tight end. Did some fullback duties, did some run blocking. And basically his father came out and said, hey, there's toxic leadership in the Vikings. That's why Rhett isn't there. And I think it's a big drama fest. It's kind of like if you're following the NBA, LeVar Ball keeps opening his mouth and he shouldn't. And it's not to that level, but it was really weird to hear because the Vikings usually don't have that kind of drama. Well, Mike Zimmer reached out again this week, and he talked on the subject. And apparently tried to contact Rhett Ellison's father, but in Mike Zimmer's own words, he says he didn't see fit to call me back. I thought that he said he didn't seem fit to call me back, which I thought was going to open up a can of worms. But all in all, Mike Zimmer says, hey, look, I reached out to his father. He didn't want to call me back. He wanted nothing to do with that. And that's your choice. Our coach is classy. He's hard on the players. And I said this on the show last week or the week before. I watched an interview because they're doing all the draft talk right now. Obviously, the draft's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And Paul Allen sat down and just drilled Mike Zimmer like he usually does when he gets a chance. He's usually, a homer for the team. And he asked him some really good questions. He said, hey, what do you want to improve on most as a coach? And a lot of the players said before, hey, you're really hard on us. Some of us don't respond to that. And does that hold some weight to what Rhett Ellison's dad says? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room. None of us are. But you see the way guys like Chad Greenway said they love playing for this coach. Everson Griffin, Brian Robinson, Dirty Harry. They all say it all the time. They love his coaching style. It's very tough. It's very in your face. It's very direct to the point. Some people can't handle it. I don't know if Rhett himself couldn't handle it because I don't see him coming out and saying it. I think he's a little smarter than that. But I think it's a really weak move, especially when you offer your hand out and say, hey, look, let's talk about it if this is how you feel. I'm sure Mike Zimmer wasn't going to go full Mike Zimmer coach mode on Rhett Ellison's father, although that would be really funny to see. We should make that a WWE match, by the way. I put
that'd be a lot of fun.
$10 on Zimmer to Stone Cold Stun Rhett Ellison.
Normally, I hate when politics or disputes go from behind the scenes in a football team to the media or the front stage. That's something I don't usually care for. But I think that there was kind of a situation where this was necessary. Not only was the team called out, but the coaches were called out by someone who isn't even closely affiliated with the team. I don't understand why these fathers or former coaches or whoever are coming out and saying all this stuff about a team that they don't play for.
Yeah, it's really weird. I would see it if we just straight up cut Brett during the middle of the season or whatever. But he was a free agent, and he got to explore his options, and he chose elsewhere. And let's face it, the Giants are a contender. They're not going to win their division, in my opinion. They didn't last year, but they're a playoff team. So, good for him. We wish him nothing but the best. We have nothing bad to say about Rhett Ellison. We actually praise him a lot on this show.
Right.
And I'm with you, man. I don't understand why they think it's good. I don't know. I know nothing's going to come out of it positive for him. But Mike Zimmer did the classy thing because I think he's a classy guy, and he didn't call him back. So it is what it is. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So.
And it's not like the CBA isn't built for these players to have easier practices or easier weeks. I couldn't imagine some of these guys that are complaining about practices working back in the day when they did grind these guys down to nothing in full pads, full contact practices.
I mean, hell, they can't even call them up to certain points of the offseason or the new league year. I mean, it's crazy.
It's kind of ridiculous.
I'm sure he's going to want to get everything out of those players because, we want to win a championship. We've never done that, and I think Mike Zimmer is a very good candidate to make that happen. But you got to have a strong mind and will to want to do this. You have to have the want to endure and push yourself. But I don't know. I can't speak on behalf of Rhett, and I always liked him as a player. I just think this is stupid. But
so we got a little bit more of news from today coming out. The Vikings have shown some interest in wide receiver Rod Streeter to stretch the field, as they said. So there is a lot of competition for him right now. Actually, quite a few teams are checking him out. I do think that if the Vikings do sign Streeter, you won't see them being as active in the draft or free agency to try to fill another hole. But then again, I think that there's already a pretty nice, talented group of wide receivers. And I do think that both Thielen and Diggs are the kind of wide receivers who can stretch a field. They've got the kind of speed. They can make catches. I don't know. To me, I'd rather see the Vikings looking at a bigger bodied possession receiver, a red zone threat kind of guy. But I can't argue with what the Vikings are doing if they can bring it out and find success on the football field.
I'll be completely honest with you guys and Adam right now. I have no idea who that is. And I just know that I read earlier this week that the Vikings were looking at options. Specifically, Mike Zimmer said, hey, we should stretch the field. I think it's a genius idea. I don't know who that guy is. Who does he play for?
He used to play for Oakland. He used to be one heck of a deep ball threat. He's got some good moves. He ran a really fast 40. I don't have the numbers there, but
okay.
He's an interesting guy to keep an eye on, and we'll see how that works out there. And then we're into the news that I don't even want to say. I know a lot of draft people are really excited about the Vikings possibly getting a running back in the draft. But the fact that Mike Zimmer reportedly really likes Joe Mixon has me concerned.
I'm the opposite there. I don't want to spoil it, but that's my bold statement of the week. It's not going to be a popular decision, but I'll just go ahead and throw the bold statement in the beginning of the show.
All right.
I am totally okay with the Vikings drafting Joe Mixon. Do I like the story on it? No. Would that be another running back with baggage? Yes. Do I want that? No. But I am all for second chances. Michael Vick's a great story. And I'm a dog handler, you guys. You know this. If you learn from your mistake and you can be a helpful part of the community and you can pursue it, cool. I don't like how the NFL kind of blackballed him because teams are going to look at him. He's already had private workouts with pro teams. So I don't know why they would blackball him there. I know it's an image thing, but the NFL is just such a hypocrite with their image anyways. They worry more about a guy deflating footballs than they do about people, doing drugs or, hitting a woman in the face, which is completely uncalled for. But I'm not the conviction police. I'm not going to do that. But I am okay if Joe Mixon is there at our, what do we pick, like 46th or something? If he's sitting right there and the Vikings take him, I'm not going to be mad. I do agree that I think this is a deep running back class, like a lot of the experts are saying, and I am okay with them drafting another running back because, number one, the class is so rich for this draft class. There's not a lot of linemen, which I know we need. I still hope we take a lineman. But if the Vikings take Joe Mixon, I'm not going to be upset about it because Jerick McKinnon is our starter as of right now. So Latavius Murray comes in. I presume that he's going to be the number one. And if we could draft a guy like Joe Mixon, we would have arguably one of the top 5 running back cores in the NFL. And we could do what we've been doing for so long. It's just not going to be with one person.
The live chat tends to agree with you. Eric Randall says Mixon's highlight tape is downright ridiculous. Looks like Gurley. Johnny Green says he reminds me of Bell. So Todd Gurley and Bell, both arguments there. Eric Randall says, I'm okay if the Vikings take him. He's really good and should have a chip on his shoulder. My only problem with it is the Vikings have worked real hard to clean up their locker room. They've had some players there in the past that they really needed to part ways from. And the attitude there should be much better heading into 2017. And maybe the Vikings are trying to do their homework to figure out if he can fit in with the team, if he is a Minnesota Viking. Because let's be honest, being a Minnesota Viking means a lot more than it does for a lot of other teams. The Vikings look at character, they look at class, they look at giving back to the community. A lot of that in addition to what happens on the field and how vocal they are about their situations and all that kind of stuff. It really is a situation where you have to wonder, is it worth it?
I'm right there with you, man. And I'm totally with you on that point of wanting to keep classy guys off the field in the locker room, because there are talented people, everywhere in the NFL, but what's your character like? And I understand that we have a pretty good reputation of having high character guys. The only thing that I'll say about the situation, so we can move on and get the rest of these quick hits done. If you guys don't know the story, you should look at it. This wasn't recent. This is actually a couple years ago, I believe.
Yeah, it's several years old.
He's an African-American. There was a woman who called him the N-word, which is totally off-topic and inappropriate, but this is what sparked it. I don't like racial and hate crimes. I do believe that you can get charged with that as verbal assault, and it's very much a racial slur. And this woman was provoking him. Now, I'm not condoning hitting a woman. I do condone self-protection no matter what your gender. But I think with his statement, it couldn't have been more spot on. He said, look, I never should have went in there. And I know he recognizes it. The only damning thing is kind of like the Ray Rice appeal to it is there's video footage. And in this day and age, this is what separates a guy like Joe Mixon and Ray Rice from a Michael Irving back in the day. Because we've all heard the stories about a guy like that. He's so talented and he's Hall of Famer. So that's my take on it. I'm totally with you, Adam. I want a high character guy, so we don't have to deal with that. But talent-wise on the field, if you're going to look for it, that guy has a early second-round value, possibly late first-round value. So if he falls a little bit because of character and the Vikings pull the trigger, I'm not going to be upset. I just don't want it to bleed over. But the caveat for me is it's a couple of years old. This isn't something that happened in January. So I think he's had time to learn from his mistakes. And he's shown remorse for it too, which I think is big. Which is something someone else didn't do for this team that we all talked about. So I totally I totally agree with you there. But can I get on to the, excuse my French, so I'll give you guys 5 seconds if you have kids in the car to turn it down right now. But let's just get on with the Cordarrelle Patterson news in shit, as he would say on Snapchat. Oh, yeah. I had to remove him because he's not on our team anymore. I love the guy. I chatted with him once or twice. Cordarrelle Patterson is signing with the Oakland Raiders, has signed, I'm sorry. And it says Las Vegas in parentheses in the notes. Yeah, that'll be soon. The vote is going to come soon to see if they move to Vegas. They have funding now, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm happy for him. I don't know the numbers. I do know that they have a great offensive line and a really good young quarterback, and they were playoff bound. And it was really unfortunate what happened to Derek Carr at the end of the season last year. But they're going to have a kick-ass special teams unit in Oakland, so be prepared for that. They're going to punt really good, and they're probably going to return really well. So they're going to have that pretty much covered. A lot of people were pissed off that Patterson left and had that sort of love. You don't know what you got till it's gone. Kyle and I posted some controversial stuff, and I did it in Vikings chats. Let's keep it real. As a receiver, Cordarrelle Patterson had 7 touchdowns in 4 years. I'm just going to leave that there. Is he versatile? Absolutely. Is he an athlete? He's a freak athlete, and he's big.
Yeah, there's no denying that he has tons of potential and that he has freakish ability when it comes to changing directions and acceleration. He has some talent to succeed. Maybe he'll be able to realize it with the Raiders. Maybe he won't. And they were willing to roll the dice on that, and the Vikings really weren't. It's kind of the bottom line on that one there. So moving on, we've got Mike Zimmer holding a meeting to discuss this season's upcoming London game. He says, we're trying to figure out what to do and what the best way to go about getting a win. Minnesota will be the visiting team against the Browns in London on either week 7 or 8. Vegas, or not Vegas, but London can be a really interesting situation because you've got a lot of travel there and you have to decide whether you want to go the day before or the day before that and try to settle in, adjust to times, all that kind of stuff. London games, a lot of teams hate them. I like that it's a road game. It won't mess with the Vikings' home schedule. But there is the worry of messing with the times, the dates, the minds of the players, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think this is a huge problem. I think Zimmer and the team will be able to figure out a schedule that fits well with the team, and they'll be able to execute it and take care of all that stuff. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Sorry, I got a little distracted. Trying to jump back in. This reset has got me all messed up.
Hey, it takes a little while to get back going. Like, as soon as we started going, I had trouble hopping back in too, but we got this under control now.
Yeah, I'm really sorry we jumped it for the bold statement in there. I was going to save that for the end, but it seemed like a good segue. But speaking of the draft and other players and stuff, I want to thank everybody too, just for a quick second about we've been doing the in and out topics, and it's really cool that you guys keep going in and on that. We were going to do Terrence Newman this week, but that was another piece of information. Terrence Newman said last week that he was close to signing with a Super Bowl contender, and that had kind of like smoke and mirrors. They're like, oh, man, where's Terrence going to go? Because as you guys know, he had a phenomenal season last year at a very older age for most players overall, much less the corner position. And we got him back. So we're not going to do that for this week's question. We're going to be talking about Mr. Taylor Heinicke, and he should be healthy and ready to go because he's kind of the enigma at the quarterback position. Don't know what to do since Teddy's there, but glad to see that Terrence Newman is back. Since we did lose Captain Munnerlyn, I think it was very clutch for the Vikings to keep Terrence Newman around for another season. Don't be surprised either if we stock up on another cornerback at some point in this draft.
Oh, yes.
Don't be surprised at all, or pick one up in free agency.
Newman did say after he signed that he was going to sign in Minnesota or nowhere.
What's that?
And it means a lot. It's absolutely amazing. We do have a question from Damon Plaff in our chat here. He says, has anyone heard that Treadwell doesn't really mix well with the other wide receivers? That's something I've never heard.
I've never heard. I actually, when I was talking about it earlier, I forget who else they had on before Captain left for Carolina. This is probably within the last month. Paul Allen interviewed him. God, who else was on there? I'll have to think about it. But he sat down and they talked about Laquon Treadwell, and they said, yeah, the expectation versus what actually happened was very much polar opposites. But Captain said that he approached him. He's approached pretty much everyone in the locker room and said, hey, look, and this is paraphrasing, but this is from Captain Munnerlyn saying, hey, what do I need to do to get better? And they said the biggest thing that Laquon has is confidence issues. And when you talk to wide receivers, now I know quarterbacks are usually like clean cut, really nice, very great at interviews. The goofy guys like Everson Griffin are on the D-line and stuff like that. But the wide receivers are the divas, and they think they are the hottest thing walking the planet. And it's really odd, if you guys didn't know that, for a wide receiver to lack confidence. And I didn't notice this as a fan, years ago, but being so dedicated and watching over the years, you got to have that swagger about you. That's why defensive backs, if you guys know who Josh Norman is, he's little, but he's got fire and fight in him, and I love that. And I would love to have all kinds of guys with that attitude on the team. It's really weird to see, especially a skills position, that has a confidence issue. And I think that is a major thing of why he might have had a down season. And it bothered me a little bit. Also, if you're thinking about Laquon while we're on the subject, I know that he had a little bit of injury issues, so I'm sure he was fighting through those as well. So I'm hoping that, just like we've been talking about in previous episodes, I'm hoping that he comes back healthy and he has a bounce-back sophomore year.
Yeah, I could exactly. That's a very good analysis of that situation. I like that a lot. One of the quick hits we don't have written down is I don't believe last week we talked about the Vikings signing Datone Jones. I believe we talked that he was coming in for a visit, and I liked the idea of them plugging him in pretty much anywhere on the defensive line because of his athleticism and giving him a fresh start with a new team. And the Vikings pulled the trigger and got it done. Former Green Bay Packers player Datone Jones. I'm kind of excited about watching what he can do. He was a very talented player, a highly sought-after prospect when he was in the draft. He's got the athleticism to succeed, and I think Zimmer could have a lot of fun with him.
He's a defensive tackle, correct?
Well, he can be plugged in anywhere. I believe he played defensive end for a while in Green Bay before moving him around. He never played the nose there.
Okay.
But he could play the defensive tackle non-nose position. You wouldn't want to replace him with, replace Linval with him because they're completely different kind of players.
No.
But I could see him succeeding in any spot along there aside from the big guy.
That's good. That's crazy to think about too. But the first thing that pops in my mind when you think of a guy who could play DN but listed as a tackle, because I've seen pictures of him, he doesn't look as big as a Linval Joseph or a Sharif Floyd type. I think it was Daniil Hunter. Maybe he's that athletic, and you see what Mike Zimmer has done with him. So correct me if I'm wrong, Datone was a former first-round pick. So
yes.
Who knows? Obviously, he had a lot of talent to be drafted that high. So let's see what Mike Zimmer can do with him, because the looming question is Sharif Floyd. Is he going to stay? What's his status? There was some very cloudy comments from Mike Zimmer in the last game of the season on him, and going right after the season was over. So depth at the defensive tackle position or defensive line in general, just like corner, in my opinion, you can't have enough of them. And
we got Scott Schwab in the chat here talking about how Ian Rappaport says that Jones is a very nice fit in Minnesota. He looks forward to seeing the season. I have not heard that yet, so that's nice to hear.
And the other thing that you guys will love, just as fans and being kind of snotty, because we always like to give the Packers hell, he said he cannot wait to sack Aaron Rodgers. So I'm really psyched about that. So anybody that wants to chase him down and has that little chip to do it, I'm sure he'll give every effort to make those words come true.
TMF Tyler says Vikings going after a lot of Packers this year, and it kind of seems like they did. But Jared Cook, I don't understand why the Vikings are so hard after a tight end. I really, really like the two that they have on the roster right now. Kyle Rudolph needs to be a little bit more reliable with his hands, but he can get things done, especially in the red zone. He's got that big body target. I love Morgan as both a blocker and a route runner, everything. I love what he can do. They can put him in as a fullback if they don't want to have a dedicated fullback on the roster. We've also seen teams plug in big guys, defensive tackles or whatever at fullback. So if they're going to plug one in, it might as well be a tight end and not have a dedicated roster spot for one. But the Vikings, looking at former Packer Jared Cook, even though he was only there for a season, I believe, it's interesting to me because I don't see tight end as being the massive need that people say it is. And I was kind of hoping to get your perspective on that, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, it was kind of shocking. I mean, when you think about it, I do the analogy with the draft. If you have a good player available, it doesn't matter what position they are. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is a little better than Sam Bradford, but Sam Bradford's a good quarterback. And he did really well last year. He spread the ball around to a lot of people and, almost had two different 1,000-yard receivers. Kyle Rudolph had, I think, his best season with him. But we have an up-and-coming tight end in David Morgan. And Kyle Rudolph's he had a great year. So I didn't see the need. Kind of like I was saying earlier about best player available. If you have a guy that wants to sign with you and he's a good player, why not? Depth is always good. But to me, tight end is on the back half of the list of the positions that we need. So it's kind of weird. If I was going to say we were going to sign a Packer, I thought it would have been probably Eddie Lacy because we needed a running back. But it's kind of weird. And obviously it wasn't that big of a need for us because we didn't sign him. We didn't come to a deal. So, but I can't blame the Vikings for at least flirting with the idea of signing another one.
We got Johnny Green here asking, who is playing guard? And to me, that is a multi-layered question because we pretty much already know that the two starting offensive tackles are going to be new faces. The ones that they picked up in free agency, Remmers and Rafe. Now, the interior of the offensive line, you've got Alex Boone pretty much cemented at left guard. And this is where things get interesting because I would like to see Nick Easton starting at center to get that transition going over because I like what I've seen from him and I would like to see him continue to grow into being a long-time center for the Vikings. That would open up Joe Berger to be the right guard, and I think he could really flourish there, and he's done it before. As far as depth goes, you've got TJ Clemmings, which he could maybe succeed at guard. I don't know. That's the one spot we really haven't seen him much at this year, right, ever, because he's had to be plugged in at right tackle as a rookie, at left tackle in his sophomore year. he really hasn't had a chance to settle in anywhere or learn anything. And I want to see him be able to establish himself and get confident and then see what he can do, because he's been thrust into some bad situations. But we do have the situation where the Vikings will need to add another guard either in the draft or free agency, and it will probably be the draft. And I'm thinking it'll be one of their top 3 selections will be a guard.
Yeah, I don't, like you said, multi-layered question. I think we're covered. I don't think that, I don't know. And you're talking about Nick Easton at center too. Like I'm with you there. I think that's a great idea. And I'm more so knowledgeable for the TJ Clemmings idea.
I can't believe the value that the Vikings are getting at Joe Berger.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been an unsung hero on the line for us for sure.
And seeing all these massive contracts other guards are getting, he deserves some cash. He plays hard. He's always one of the top-rated players the last couple of years. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great value. Maybe he's getting underpaid a little bit. We do have a little bit of cap money left. I think we have around $17 million or some change there, give or take $1 million. But wouldn't be surprised if he got a little bit of that. Wouldn't be surprised if Xavier Rhodes finally got a little bit of that left over. Maybe we take a look at a backup quarterback. That was the thing I wanted to talk about next to kind of end my little partake for the show. But yeah, with the line and everything, I go back more to the TJ Clemmings thing. I really want to see him at his natural position, because that poor guy, he played bad, but he was not playing in his forte. So I don't know, but I don't know. That's a good question for Adam, because I'm not the offensive line guru. Adam is definitely that guy for us.
I pay a lot of attention to the offensive line. I've seen a lot of people being really concerned about that guard spot, and I don't blame people, because on the surface, you've lost your starter of several years. But I don't know. To me, losing Fusco, I didn't like what I saw from him even the last 2 years. I was hoping he could bounce back last year, but things didn't quite work out. And honestly, if nothing else, John Sullivan's making the rounds again. He's not signed anywhere, and if the Vikings need a situation where they need a guard to hop in, I wouldn't rule out if either Berger or Easton gets injured, having them sign him to come in, finish out the season at center, and move whoever was there over to guard. That's one of the nice things about having such versatility on these players.
Okay, so I wanted, like I was hinting at just now, I want to talk about a little bit about the cap situation, because it's the last thing, and I think it'll be something that we address, if not immediately after the draft, of course, before we get the mini camp and the OTAs and season rolling. We have around, I think it read $17.8 million, but I'm going to go down around just the 17 even to be safe. Adam and I talked about it sometime between the last 2 episodes, between now and the last one we aired. We need to get Xavier Rhodes some kind of deal locked down, or at least, hey, we're committing the rest of this to Xavier Rhodes, because he's a phenomenal corner, one of the top rated in the entire league from last year. The next thing I want to talk about is backup quarterback, because we don't know the status of Teddy Bridgewater. I'll give you guys my opinion on it. I've seen Teddy. I follow him on all social media accounts. He's been doing the ladder drills. He's been running around. The guy's been rehabbing like crazy. I think he's going to be good to go. Probably not at the beginning of the season. Like, he wouldn't be the quarterback number 2 by the first game, but at some point I think he will be healthy enough. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you the accurate status on that. But the other thing is, there are some options of guys out there that are very viable backups. At the tail end, we'll start with somebody that I don't think any of us agree on, but he's a big name. Jay Cutler is still available. Don't know what his price tag would be. Tony Romo is going to be too much money. 2 guys that I'm interested in. I really liked Tyrod Taylor, but Oakland picked him up. But back up to Sam Bradford, 2 guys that come to me. Option B, Robert Griffin III. He's kind of dwindled his starting role down. He's got health issues, but I think if you needed him to come in and play spectacular for a game or 2, I think he has the potential if he can stay healthy. But the guy that I'm looking at that might not cost as much money, even though he did demand it, but now that he's a free agent and people are moving on from him, he should be cheaper. Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't think that he would be a bad backup at the right price. I think he's 2 seasons ago, he played lights out for the Jets. They have issues elsewhere besides quarterback on their team, but just to get your guys' motor running and get a conversation started, and Adam, certainly I want your opinion on this. I think the gap between Sam Bradford and Taylor Heineke is kind of big. I don't want Sean Hill there because of his age. He was a good fit for the price that he came at. He did win us a game, the first of the year against Tennessee at the quarterback position, even though the defense won that game. Let's be real.
Yeah, he didn't make mistakes, though. He was executed.
He was
but I do want to say that I think you read my 5 free agent fits because my number 5 was Fitzmagic.
I did.
And I do think that bringing in a veteran quarterback might be a good idea here. But it all depends on how much confidence the Vikings have in Taylor Heineke. We've got Chance Atibo. We got Manziel Chance going on. We got Teddy Truthers saying that he'll be ready. This is going to be one of the biggest questions going into training camp is who the backup to Sam Bradford's going to be. And I have no idea. Right now, I'm just sitting back and watching because so many of these quarterbacks, they're talented guys that are free agents that are available. Guys that were first-round picks, playoff quarterbacks. There's options everywhere. It's amazing to see. And it all will rest on Taylor Heineke, what they believe in him, and Teddy Bridgewater, where he stands. I wouldn't be surprised to see Teddy start the season on the PUP list to see just how healthy he can get. And if he makes it through that period without being able to play, then they got to make the decision of IR or activating him. I'm really interested to see how that can all go because that would be a pretty quick turnaround for Teddy. And I love Teddy. You guys all know that I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. I really want to see this kid do well. And I think that even in a backup capacity, I'd feel more than happy with him being there. Hopefully things can get worked out, but I'm really interested to see what the Vikings end up doing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I couldn't be a bigger supporter of Teddy Bridgewater. You guys know I don't buy a lot of jerseys. I got a jersey given to me, and it was his, and I was really happy to wear it all the time. A lot of faith in him. Injuries suck. They do take a toll. Depends on how he bounces back. I hope he has an AP-like recovery and return. He is the best option as far as a backup goes for us. Absolutely is the best option. Like I said before, he's more athletic than Sam. I don't think he throws the ball as far as Sam, but they're both pretty accurate. He reads defenses pretty well. Like I said, he's mobile. Don't know how mobile he's going to be immediately after this knee injury, but he is our best option at backup quarterback. And I guarantee you if he hit the free agent market when he was healthy, he'd have a lot of teams looking at him because he's young. And I really hope he comes back. And I totally agree with you. Physically unable to perform, he probably will be on that list, but my hope is that by week 6 or 7 or maybe into our bye week, because we're going to have a mid-season bye week, something like that. I hope by the bye week he can be activated to be our quarterback number 2. So just a little something to get the wheels turning. Yes, I did read your article. That's kind of why I put that in there, but I did agree with it. You guys check out Adam's stuff, man. He's busy all the time with the Viking Age. But just to get the wheels turning, because Taylor Heineke is going to be on the team. I have no doubts about that, but we need to have – I like having 3 quarterbacks on the roster because any given Sunday, anything can happen. Hopefully not. Hopefully Sam stays healthy again and has a even better season than he did last year. But just to kind of get things going. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's about all we have for this week. We're going to post up the question on social media about Taylor Heineke, whether you guys think that he should be on the main roster as the backup, what his situation is. Just let us know. We do want to thank you guys because our YouTube channel did grow by about 50 to 60 likes over the last week. So someone out there is doing a lot of work for us, and we appreciate that. And we'd love to get that to 1,000 so we can use YouTube Live instead of the situation that we have going on, because it can be kind of messy, and that's never a lot of fun. I do want to remind you guys, if you're down by the Chicago area this weekend, I will be at Walker Stalker Con Chicago. I'm going to be walking around, be taking pictures of the people that are all dressed up. I've got a couple interviews with stars from the show and some of the writers lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of panels. If you're into The Walking Dead, come and join me. I'd love to meet all of you.
That would be really cool, man. I wish I was closer. I would love to come out and support. That'd be really cool. But if you guys are in the area, like you said, go check it out. Go say hi. Adam's a really cool dude. Really, really cool guy.
Unless you're on my bad side, then you're going out.
He's going to take your lunch money.
Hey, you got to pay for those photo ops somehow. But I do want to thank all you guys for coming in. It's so awesome that you guys will come and join us, ask questions, interact, talk with each other. It's a lot of fun. And I do want to have you guys come and check out our social media at Purple People Pod on the Twitter machines. You've got our Facebook page where we're always trying to post stuff up to get everything done. And I want to thank all you guys again for joining us. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.